I really want to talk about ContraPoints' narcissistic statement about Palestine 20 months into the genocide, now that she has finally said something about it. Let me preface it with a few things. Number one, it might be a longer video because I have a lot to say about this, and partially not my fault because her statement's like 9 years long. A lot of I ain't reading all that energy. Unfortunately for me, I actually did read all of that. But I have had more time to process it since I first saw it last night, so I'm definitely not as enraged or flying off the handle as I was last night as I was reading it. So I'll definitely be more calm, okay? For those of you who don't know, ContraPoints is a YouTuber. She's like a YouTube essayist, whatever. I honestly really am not that familiar with her work. I had seen a clip here and there and seen that she was like associated with some people on the left, but really am still not that familiar with her work. I did start to notice though that in the last couple weeks she was popping up on my feed with kind of a little bit of a Brianna Wu vibe. So all of a sudden I know where she's like, I've noticed that there's a lot of left anti-Semitism on this app. We're talking about Twitter. And my antennas went up when I heard that because I'm like, wait a second. Is this a Brianna Wu arc? Is this what we're on now? Because I haven't heard you say shit about Palestine for 20 months. And the first thing I see you come out and say is to whine about left anti-Semitism? I couldn't go investigate further because she blocked me right after I said that. So then I just kind of moved on. And then that statement dropped yesterday. And if I had any questions about who ContraPoints is, otherwise known as, I think her real name is Natalie Wynn, this answered it for me. And the comments really got me too, because it was a lot of people waiting for permission to say they don't care. A lot of liberal Zionists, the progressive except for Palestine people that were like, I'm so glad you're a Zionist and don't care about genocide too. I feel so relieved. Girl, I thought I was the only one. A lot of that energy. And some people have been sharing on Twitter some of her past Islamophobic statements, videos, and an old tweet of her saying that she wanted to move to Israel. So this self-serving screed starts with her being like, okay, I know that you guys are disappointed that I didn't say shit and it's been 20 months. She dedicates about 5.5 seconds to actually acknowledging the Palestinian genocide. Is Israel committing genocide in Gaza? Yes. Do I oppose it? Yes. Do I feel angry about it? Yes. I also have a lot of other feelings too. Yeah, and I think you're about to share them with us. Translation. Me. This whole part, which I'm not going to read word for word, is just narcissistic Zionism. You can see right here. Instead of saying anything or showing any kind of outrage about the fucking Holocaust we've been witnessing for the last 20 months, she starts talking about Zionist feelings and how the left is the problem. That's where you want to put your focus. That's where you want to put your focus. You want to chastise the left, the pro-Palestine left, because it makes Zionists feel uncomfortable. The leftist pro-Palestine movement quickly decided that their primary goal was merely not opposition to the genocide, but opposition to Zionism in general. And that opposition to the existence of Israel as a Jewish state. It's like, can we not even have a little bit of an ethno-state, you guys? Like, why is the pro-Palestine left so extreme and unreasonable? Like, what do you mean we can't have apartheid? This is unfucking believable. They're literally putting them in concentration camps. Gaza is already a concentration camp. It's already small as fuck. They have now pushed the people of Palestine into like 1/3 in a little cage in the Gaza Strip that was already a fucking concentration camp. And she wants to sit on here and talk about how, why is the left so unreasonable? They're not just criticizing the genocide, they're criticizing the reasons for the genocide. Yeah, the reason why people are criticizing Zionism as an ideological movement, it's because Zionism and the Israel as it functions now necessarily depends on the oppression of the Palestinians. It necessarily, see, you got my fake teeth acting up now, depends on the Palestinians being second-class citizens in their own land and being brutally oppressed in order for them to keep their demographic majority. You know, usually we call supremacist ideology bad. I don't know why it's good here. But sure, tell me again how the problem isn't the genocide. The problem is those pesky leftists and their radical demands for the Palestinians to be treated as full human beings in their own country and to stop being genocided. The left is like so uncompromising. It's like, can't you meet us in the middle? You know, like maybe some can be people. No, she literally goes on and on whining about Zionism. Oh, it introduced a dangerous ambiguity. Are you serious? It causes some like dangerous ambiguities of like, I don't know, leftists online saying things that I think are mean. Why do they have to be such meanies is my question. Also, this is so bad faith because Zionists like this love to highlight anti-Semitism on the left. They never have any smoke for the anti-Semites on the right. Never. Fucking Trump is on TV using anti-Semitic slurs. Nothing. The anti-Semites programming Grok to say some crazy ass shit. Nothing. No. She wants to sit here and talk about left anti-Semitism and what a serious problem it is on Twitter because people talk about Zionism as being a bad ideology. And that can like introduce some dangerous ambiguity. And she's super offended that people are not just opposing the current genocide in Gaza, but people are actually talking about the roots of that genocide and why the genocide is happening and why it's been happening for years and why it continues to accelerate. And that is because the state of Israel having the goal of keeping it an ethno-supremacist state. That is why it matters to talk about the ideology of Zionism. But she wants to cry about that for like 100 paragraphs. And then she gets to this part. This part was probably the most like sickening to me in my spirit. The online left has spent 20 months distributing hundreds of photos and videos of dead Palestinian children. The main effect of this has been to create a population in a constant state of blood-boiling rage with no consequential political outlet. And then she starts whining about anti-Semitism again. Instead of questioning our blood-boiling rage, which is a natural reaction to what we've seen, why don't you ask why there wasn't a political outlet for us? Why was it that when we went to DC to protest Netanyahu's demonic ass coming to our capital, Kamala Harris's response was to condemn us and call us despicable? Netanyahu's not despicable. We were despicable for protesting him. But why don't you take up that they didn't have a rage outlet with the politician? And what do you mean the left was sharing? It was Palestinians sharing the videos and asking us to bear witness to them so that people like you don't try to erase their existence and their experience. They made those videos so that we could see what was actually happening to them from their own perspective instead of through the lens of bias and often purposefully lying Western media. Something that was actually unprecedented at this scale because up until this point, mostly everything we've seen in the West having to do with Palestine has been carefully controlled and curated. Always from the perspective of the Israeli regime and never the perspective of the Palestinians themselves. Here, they were telling their own story. And then after briefly dismissing all the Palestinians who shared the horrific scene so that we could understand what was happening and understand their stories, she pivots back to anti-Semitism and how this is bad and dangerous attitudes towards Jewish people. It literally makes me sick the way she talks about the Palestinians like they're not human. They're not human beings with their own agency, with their own ability to speak for themselves, deserving of dignity and human rights and autonomy. No, she thinks they're a prop. This statement makes clear she thinks they're a prop to be leveraged to help Democrats. That's what she's mad about. She thinks that it's inappropriate that these were shared because she didn't feel like it was helpful to the Democratic Party. Because there was no consequential political outlet to express it to. Yeah, you're right. It's almost like all that protesting we were doing was directed at Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, trying to get them to move politically. It was almost like that's what it was fucking for. Who do you think we were talking to? Do you guys notice how she doesn't put one iota of responsibility on the people in power? Not 1 ounce of responsibility on the Democratic Party, Joe Biden, or Kamala Harris. She blames the left for having that rage. She blames the left for talking about the genocide because it was inconvenient politically, instead of blaming the people in power who refused to answer for it. This is despicable. The Palestinians in Gaza experiencing this genocide that chose to share about it so people could see what they were experiencing are not your fucking prop, and they don't fucking owe you anything. The whole thing is absurd. But like this part in particular, in the way that she speaks about the Palestinians in this dehumanizing manner, just made me fucking sick. All of those videos that Palestinians shared with us about the unimaginable things that have happened to them, she's upset about, not because they happened to them, but because they shared them, and that was very inconvenient. It stokes anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, and that conceptually could be difficult. It shrunk the coalition, and girls, we have an election to win. Oh, it shrunk the coalition, did it? Fuck your coalition. Fuck your coalition. All of you bitches should be moving toward the anti-Zionist position, the only humane position. And then she complains and whines more about how this had the effect of the online left hurting the Democratic Party because we kept trying to hold them accountable for their complicity in the genocide and the funding to Israel. Again, you'll notice that there is zero accountability for the actual politicians, for the people in power. That's supposed to be our release valve, I thought. I thought we were supposed to live in a democracy where if we were upset about something, we protested and made demands of our elected officials. But you're mad at us for the democratic process. She's mad at us for doing exactly what they always say we should do, which is using the democratic process in our country to hold our elected officials accountable. That's what we were doing. It is not our problem that Butcher Biden and Bamala didn't listen to the protesters. They had the polling. They knew that this issue was going to hurt her, and they chose to side with the genocidal regime in Netanyahu. So the next time you want to write this insanely embarrassing, tone-deaf, narcissistic, racist, Islamophobic screed, save a couple lines for Joe, Kamala, and the rest of the Democratic Party.